Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue our journey with Stephanie and Erika. Let's get to the show.
So what are you up to? What are you doing today?
The football final is on this weekend, so it'll be like me, Paige, Adam, Jess, and like everyone else.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
I feel sometimes like the crazy jealous girlfriend because, you know a lot of people, you have a lot of friends, and sometimes I'm like, well, who is that?
Okay, interesting already with the jealousy, even though she's just saying that she's going to hang out with friends. We've seen these red flags before on this show that blossom into terribleness later. So there's that. The other thing is this is what I was talking about in the last episode. For Stephanie, she talked about how when she was young, she came to the United States and could speak English for a couple of years. She felt completely ostracized and like she didn't belong. And so one develops a schema, a very firm idea of the self or the world that I don't belong. And for outsiders looking at Stephanie, you'd be like, well, once you learned English, you made friends and you belong. You don't stick out in a bad way. And, people probably would like to be a part of your friend group or whatever, or would like you to be a part of their friend group. But the problem is that once you develop that schema of I don't belong, that when you're given a chance to belong, you might not do things to belong because you're afraid of being rejected about belonging. And so you end up shooting yourself in the foot by being too shy or by being too sensitive or by being too clingy or something, and then people reject you. So that maladaptive schema of I don't belong often will perpetuate not belonging. And I wonder if when Erika talks about her belonging, that for Stephanie, she, feels, once again, I'm on the outside, even though it's irrational for Stephanie to be upset about that. She barely knows Erika, really, and Erika has friends in Australia, so how could Stephanie belong to that group? But when you have a schema like that, it's a real sore spot. And so when you see that, it's like if you have trouble having kids, like you're trying to get pregnant and you're having some trouble and you're walking down the street and you see a mother with her young infant, and you feel angry at that person. It's irrational that you're angry at a mother for having a child, but it makes sense, right? Because it stings. It stings to see other people having what you want. And maybe for Stephanie, that's what's going on here. So we're seeing that belonging schema, speculation, maybe being triggered. But then this other part of the jealousy, that listen to her words because it escalates very quickly. Because she's being kind of cute. It's like, da, da, da. And then she has this sentence right there. It's like, what's going on there? Suspicion. Let's watch it again.
I feel sometimes like the crazy jealous girlfriend because, you know a lot of people, you have a lot of friends, and sometimes I'm like, well, who is that? I have no plans.
Yeah, like none? You don't have to eat anything?
I mean, I might eat some cheese and watch a movie.
So Stephanie's, she's not being mean with her jealousy. She's expressing it, and there's nothing horrible about that. But it does lend itself to a red flag in that if you're jealous of Erika spending time with her friends going to a football match, like she feels jealous and then she expresses it. I find it funny, by the way, that in this show they will often blur out things, I'm guessing because of trademark or something. It's clearly Erika with Donald Duck. I don't think anyone mistakes who Erika is with. It's clearly, Donald Duck, right? And so the guy who blurred out that needs to ratchet up the blur effect.
Erika lives a much more exciting life than I do. She's always going out and partying with her friends. But honestly, most of the time I'm just sitting at home, watching TV with my dogs, and I'm worried that those differences might be a problem later on down the road.
So a little bit of a yikes there in that she is worried that this woman that she's dating has friends. Like that worries her that it's going to be a problem down the line. I suspect that Stephanie, for her, this isn't the first time she's had these feelings. That in the past, she has, total speculation, obviously I have no idea, but I can imagine someone like Stephanie being involved with other partners in the past, having this belonging schema of a problem, and also maybe a schema of people will abandon me, and often that will manifest as romantic jealousy, sexual jealousy. And that anxiety causes problems and conflict in a relationship where this person, the target of that anxiety and anger and accusation, will say, well, I don't want to be with you. I would rather be with my friends than I would be with you because you're always yelling at me. And so this person hangs out with friends, which triggers Stephanie's traumas more, which causes her to be more angry, and the vicious loop happens often. And I wonder if for Stephanie, this has happened to her a lot. And so right away she's like, oh no, Erika has friends. I've been with people in the past who had friends, and that was a big problem. These are some pretty big red flags from the way Stephanie is talking.
We have hit it off so well online. I kind of worry that I'm gonna get there and it's gonna fall short of my expectations. I have built it up in my head so much as this like incredible, amazing thing. It's like, can we even replicate that in person?
This is something I think I was talking about in another episode, I'm not quite sure, in which I was speculating, and I often think about this when it comes to the people on the show, is there's a lot of different venues one can date, particularly when you're younger, right? You can date people in your own town, or you can date people halfway across the world. Most people date people in their own town. Stephanie could date people in her own town. Why is she dating someone halfway across the world? Well, and why do a lot of these people on the show date people halfway across the world? Well, one of the reasons, total speculation, that could be at play, and obviously there are many reasons because you could just be attracted to someone that just happens to live halfway across the world. But one of the factors that could be at play for some of these people is that they worry about relationships to the degree that they want a relationship, but they worry about them not working out. And they're worried about being rejected. They're worried about it not going well because it hasn't in the past. And so to be attracted to a fantasy, i.e. someone who lives in another country that you actually can't interact with and find out if you're actually compatible or not, it remains this wonderful thing in your head that it's this all good, wonderful, because, you know, we see this a lot in the show, and I wouldn't have known this because it isn't something that I study, but we see this a lot in the show in that when they're, over Skype or Zoom or video chat or FaceTime or whatever they're using, they are often really pleasant, they're really nice, and they have almost no conflict. And then they actually meet for the first time, boom, tons of conflict. So I think there's something about FaceTime that doesn't have a lot of conflict or doesn't lend itself to conflict. And so you can have this fantasy of this idea, this idealized relationship, like, oh my God, we get along so well, this is my soulmate, everything about this is so wonderful, because there's so many blank spaces. The vision of a relationship, so much is obscured because you're not actually meeting each other in person. And so when you have desperation because of traumas or schemas or something, you will fill in the blanks. It's like, well, I can barely see anything about this relationship because we're only FaceTiming. There's this vast fog of war around here, and I'm just going to fill it in with my idealized version of a relationship. Oh my God, my vision of this relationship is perfect. Well, because you filled in a lot of the gaps of the unknown with something that's ideal, rather than saying, you know what, I don't know what's happening here. This relationship could be awesome. This relationship could be terrible. I just have no idea. We've only been FaceTiming, and that's some data, but not enough data. So I wonder, for a lot of the people on the show, how much traumas they've been through, how much abandonment trauma, how much self-esteem trauma, how much relationship failure trauma that they've been through that makes them so desperate to have an idealized vision of the future that they will, paint a glorious picture of the future because it gives them hope when they have very little hope on the inside.
Like pumpkin spice stuff, and they don't really have pumpkin spice stuff in Australia. She loves Halloween, so I got her like this cute little soap dispenser thing. See, like I feel like I know so much about her. I know she's gonna like everything I got her.
In relationships, Stephanie definitely leads with her heart. I think she tends to jump in because she's concerned about her own mortality.
I hope I brought enough hand sanitizer.
Interesting. So her friend, her speculation about, or conceptualization of her friend, is that Stephanie jumps headlong into relationships because she's worried about her mortality. That's interesting, and we'll take her word for that, that there's some data there, that for Stephanie, due to her traumas about worrying about dying at any moment, that she would want to rush things that she wants to get, that she's impatient. She doesn't have a whole vast life ahead of her to play around with, that if she's going to have love, she's got to have it now because she could die next year. So I wonder if that's also a factor in Stephanie maybe having issues with shooting herself in the foot or with conflict in relationships. I don't know. We'll use that as we move forward.
After my last relationship ended, I decided to be celibate. I realized that in relationships, I give myself emotionally and physically to people that hurt me and screw me over. So I decided that the next time I want to know that that person really, really cares about me.
Okay, interesting. So more data that for her, she has a narrative that she has been screwed over, that she has been treated very badly by relationships in the past. That who knows what that means in reality. I've seen that mean a lot of different things. I've seen it mean that she just had the unfortunate luck of meeting some very, very terrible people. But more often, what I've seen is that she and whoever her partners were participated in something where they triggered each other and then they both hurt each other, and both people walk away with narratives that the other person was crazy or terrible or a psychopath or something. That's usually what happens. So this is another data point as we move forward, that for her, she believes that she was screwed over in the past. And that lends itself to a betrayal schema of people are out to betray me, people are going to betray me. So let's keep an eye out on that as well. As I always say, everything that I say about these people is speculation. And I would have to ask Stephanie, I'd have to say, like, does this make any sense to you? If she were sitting next to me, she'd be like, nope, that doesn't make any sense to me. Let me tell you more data. And I'd be like, oh, okay. Because the show only shows us a little bit of information. So, who knows?
If you would have told me a year ago when I started talking to this girl that I was going to be going to Australia to meet her, I would not believe it. But I'm going to meet an incredible person who has made me so happy. I'm really in love with her and I can't wait to see her. I'm so excited.
So, I don't know, but that crying didn't look super genuine. As a therapist and as a professor that talks with people who cry pretty much every day, obviously my clients are invited to cry and let that out in session, so there's a lot of that. But also, a lot of my students and a lot of my supervisees will cry as well. It's a lot of pressure to be trained as a therapist and to be a novice therapist. And so when my supervisees talk to me, it's natural to just be overwhelmed or to have a personal issue in your life. Supervision involves talking about that and to cry. So I'm a professional observer of people crying, if you will. And so I'm very experienced in knowing the markers of genuine crying versus not so genuine crying. I don't know about Stephanie. I have no idea. But that just didn't look super genuine to me. Now, maybe she was kind of crying and she accentuated it for the camera. I wouldn't be surprised if someone felt like they had to do that. I mean, I can't imagine being on a show like this and having the cameras pointed at you and all those sorts of things. Now, I will say that as a society, we have a track record, and I'm a part of that society, of pathologizing expressions of emotion that don't look quite right to us and saying that there's something wrong there and being wrong about that accusation. people express emotion differently. So I don't want to say anything with any kind of assuredness or any kind of confidence. But I wonder what would be going on. So let's just speculate. Let's just say that for Stephanie, she is amping it up or even just fabricating this moment. Why would she do this? Well, all these people on the show know they're going to be evaluated by the public as they are on this reality TV show. They know that there are past seasons and there are people that are loved by the show and there are people that are hated by the show. It seems to be no in between. You're either loved, hated, or ignored, I guess is another category. And so it stands to reason that everyone on the show would want to be liked. And she has a YouTube channel, and so her livelihood might even depend on people on the internet liking her. So maybe in this moment she's thinking, this is my moment to show my, that I have a soft side or that I have a dream and if I cry, maybe people will be able to empathize with me. I don't know. Maybe everyone out there, when they see this display, they're like, oh yeah, it looks totally normal to me. But let's watch it again.
I'm really in love with her and I can't wait to see her. I'm so excited.
So, I don't know. I mean, there's nothing wrong with trying to play it up for the cameras. You're being filmed. So I'm not saying it's this huge problem, but it's just another observation as we move forward with watching Stephanie and Erika. The other thing I'll say is that it's totally possible that for Stephanie, she genuinely has, shall we say, crying in her heart. And so it's not as if the fact that she might be fabricating or exaggerating or trying to play up a certain emotional expression for the cameras, that she lacks the emotion behind that. Because you might have the emotion and then try to exhibit the emotion. So I'm not saying that she doesn't have the emotion. I'm just saying that expression looked a little odd to me. Anyway, I think that's the end of this episode. So let's just end it right there. Everyone out there, thanks for joining me. And please take care of yourself because you deserve it. I'm pointing at you. You deserve it. And wait, what? Take care of yourself. Take care of other people. Please do that. We all deserve that.